In today's video, we will take a look at one of my longest and one of my weirdest follows ever while I was out doing surveillance. Now, surveillance started in a rural, newer subdivision in southern Colorado. This was an injury claim case where the claimant had said he had a back injury, was unable to work. His restrictions included not bending over, no lifting over 5 pounds, no standing or sitting for more than 15 minutes. Basically, his claim was that he was rendered bedridden due to his injuries at work. Now I show up at the residence on a Friday about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's late in the summer, like late August or early September. Typical weather for Colorado, cool mornings and hot afternoons. Upon arrival, I observed a large pickup in the driveway. Garage door was down. There was one interior light. I established good surveillance position down the street, a ways away where I could watch the residence. This seemed to just be a typical surveillance. Nothing really stood out. But was I ever in for a huge surprise on this one. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Shortly after 8 a.m., I see the garage door open. A male walks out and goes to the pickup. He grabs what looks like a large cooler out of the back of the pickup and he carries it to the front yard. And then I see him open the lid of the pickup. He starts to pour stuff out. It looks like it was water and a few beer cans. Then he picks up the beer cans. He puts them back into the cooler, then carries the cooler back to the pickup, puts it into the rear of the pickup, then goes back into the garage out of sight. Now hang on. It gets even more mysterious. A little while later, he walks out of the garage, then walks down the sidewalk in my direction. I'm like, oh my goodness, where is he going? Does he know that I'm here? When he gets to the corner, he hangs a quick right and walks out of view. I figured he was going for a morning walk, so I grabbed my covert camera and I hopped out of my car. As I rounded the corner, there he is standing next to a trailer with 2 jet skis on it, talking to one of his neighbors. Now, I couldn't stand there and get tons of video as this was a residential neighborhood. I'm the stranger and I was fairly close to my subject. He was also represented by an attorney, so contact was a definite no-no. My covert camera is a cell phone model with the camera that points out of the top. So I stood there for a little while. I got about 30-40 seconds of video. Seemed like forever. I just pretend to be texting. And then I went on my merry way. I continue my walk. I go around the block and I head back to my vehicle. As I entered my vehicle, there goes my subject walking back towards his residence. I got some more video and everything seemed to be perfectly fine. About an hour later, he walks out of the garage again, gets in his pickup and exits the neighborhood. The chase is on. I start my car and I initiated mobile surveillance. I follow the guy a short distance to a nearby shopping center. I figured he was going to get gas or something, but he drove past the convenience store and then parked right in front of a liquor store about 9:30 in the morning. I get video of him exiting his car, walking into the liquor store. After a few minutes, he comes walking out with 2 large cases of beer, stops at the back of his pickup. Then he pours those 2 cases of beer into the cooler in the back of the pickup. Next, he goes back into the liquor store. Then he comes out with one of those huge bags of ice, and he pours that in the cooler. He then gets back into his pickup. He drives back to his house and went into the residence. Then I saw a lady leave the house, go into the garage. She drives off out of the neighborhood in a little sedan. My subject did not appear to be inside the car. Another hour goes by, and then I see him walking out of the house, and he gets into his truck. He drives towards me, then he takes a right. My heart is pounding now. I start my car, and away I go. Now, before I tell you where he went, you won't believe this. Go down below, hit that thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button. As I rounded the corner, there he was, backing his truck up to that trailer with the water jet skis on it. I was totally caught off guard for a second. I went around the block. I found another place to park, another vantage point. I got about 30 minutes of video as he was hitching up that trailer and trying to secure the load and everything on there. It was amazing video. But wait, it gets even better. After he gets to the trailer all hooked up, he pulls it around the block and in front of his house. Just about the same time the lady arrives back at the house, she puts several bags of stuff from her car into the back of the truck. Then she goes inside. A few minutes later, they both come out with several bags of stuff, throw it into the pickup, enter the pickup, and exit the neighborhood. Now I am like, alrighty, road trip, folks. It is time. This is going to be a good one. First stop, a convenience store. He fills up his pickup with gas. He fills up the jet skis and fills up a couple of large gas cans on the trailer. Then back on the road. I was trying to get video and search the internet for nearby lakes, so I might have some kind of an idea where they might be going. Now, they drive directly to a freeway, which made me feel a little more comfortable, as following somebody around, driving real slow, pulling a trailer through residential streets is a bit nerve-wracking. But wait, my nerves haven't been racked yet. You won't believe what happened. We get about 30 miles down the road. 30 miles, that's it. He pulls over in a rest area. I'm like, oh my goodness, did he notice me following him? This is a bit weird. I didn't pull off with him, I just drove past. Now, I know this stretch of road pretty good, and I knew that there were emergency turnaround points every few miles. So I pulled over, I grabbed a little bit of video of him as he parked. He got out of his truck and he went into the restroom area. I'm like, man, shouldn't you have gone before you left there, buddy? Next, I drive down about a mile. I find a place to turn around. Then I stop a little ways away from the rest area. I get video of his vehicle as it's pulling out of the rest area and continues on the freeway. I then pass him the opposite direction on the freeway. I find a place to turn around. I turn around and I catch up to him. About 40 miles later, he pulls off in a small town interchange. I'm like, all right, we must be getting close to our destination. Then he pulls into a convenience store. But wait, he can't need gas. They have tons of food and stuff. What's going on? I find a place to pull over. I videotape him as he enters the store, and then he comes back out a few minutes later. He enters his pickup, and he gets back on the freeway, and he heads on down his merry way. I'm like, this is pretty weird. Now, about 30 miles down the road, he goes and he pulls off the freeway again. This time he pulls into a truck stop. So I pull up to a gas pump that time, and I go ahead and I decide maybe I better make myself a quick pit stop, and I go into the truck stop. I go into the restroom, and lo and behold, there he is. So I go back out to my vehicle. He comes out a little bit later. I get some video of him getting in his pickup, and then I follow him. This activity, folks, went on for the next few hours. I figured either he was drinking a lot of those beers from the cooler, or he had a bladder problem, or maybe it was both. It made for a very interesting and a very tense follow, I have to say. But it gets even better, folks. Go down and hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button really quick, and we will continue on this venture. Now, he had switched freeways a couple of times in the metro area, and now we were heading toward Nebraska. I thought maybe he was going to go to Lake McConaughey in Ogallala, Nebraska. It is a huge, and I mean a huge lake, so it made sense to me. We get about 30 miles from the Nebraska border, and he pulls off the freeway and he goes into another convenience store. Now, I took the opportunity to get on the phone there, and I called a PI in Nebraska that might be able to help me out. I wasn't licensed in Nebraska, and I knew that I could follow him for a short period, but if a lot of surveillance had to be done in Nebraska, I was going to need a PI that was licensed in Nebraska. After he left the convenience store, he didn't get back on the freeway. He got on a highway heading out of town. Now, I figured maybe there's some back roads that I'm not quite sure about that will go to the lake. Sure enough, he took some back highways into the panhandle of Nebraska, then continued on to, yes, you guessed it, a rest area. After the rest area, the next stop was a convenience store in Ogallala, Nebraska, and then they were on to the lake. He then drove around the lake twice. Now, if you've ever been to Lake McConaughey, it is huge, like almost 38,000 acres, almost 22 miles long, I think, 142 feet deep. It is like an ocean in the middle of nowhere. He drove around the lake twice, looking for a good place, I suppose. Shortly after he found a place to park, two other people showed up with huge campers, and they parked there, and guess what else they had? Yep, jet skis. Now, after 500 miles of following this guy, making a dozen bathroom stops, obtaining about 4 hours of video, my relief investigator from Nebraska showed up. I was 13 hours into my day at this point, and at best, 5 or 6 hours from home, but I was happy to be heading that way. And my first stop, Yep, you guessed it, a rest area. My Nebraska PIs got over 10 hours of video that weekend on this guy, racing his jet skis, drinking beer, playing volleyball, barbecuing, you name it, they did it. The client was ecstatic.